Welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Let me introduce some members of town government that assist this board. To my left is Vincent Pizzulli, attorney to the board. To his left is Blaise Donadio, a planner in the planning department. You are all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances. Excuse me. And it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you are requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide us with precise, accurate information so we as a board can base our decision on the facts that you present here tonight. We as a board must consider the five, excuse me. We as a board must consider the five following conditions. They're listed here for you. Number one, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number two, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other means. Number three, whether the variance is substantial. Number four, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And number five, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Procedures for tonight's meeting. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of postings and mailings to Mr. Donadio. Then you'll be asked to go to the podium where you'll state your name and address for the record and proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. Then the applicant can come back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are three ways to find out about your case. Number one, you can stay after the hearing, but there's no guarantee that your case will be acted on tonight. Number two, you can call the planning office tomorrow. Or number three, you can wait and be notified by mail. We do have one adjournment tonight. That is case number 1-17469, St. Catherine of Siena. Was there anyone here for that case? That case has been adjourned to December 10th.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first case on the agenda, case number 18225, Charles and Suzanne Moulet, 18 Knoll Lane, Smithtown. The location of the property, the south side of Knoll Lane, 800 feet west of Plymouth Boulevard. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to decrease the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 3 feet for an existing 168 square foot shed with roof over, to reduce the total side yards from 28 feet to 26 feet for an existing outdoor kitchen.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm appearing as counsel for the Mulets, Ronald Alber of Alber Law Group, 5036 Jericho Turnpike, Suite 305, Comac, New York. Thank you for your time this evening. I have, in going and honoring the formalities of the proceeding, in terms of the first question, whether or not the requested variances would present an undesirable change, I've taken the liberty of printing out some documentation with pictures of other neighboring premises that have similar conditions that are approved at the property. I can hand those out if you like.
Okay. All right, thank you.
In the color pictures that I've just provided, it gives, by way of example, different properties with similar or the same types of improvements that have been erected on the subject premises. I've labeled them for identification, properties A through K, and on the documents I've marked what street they appear on within the town of Smithtown itself. Comparing the pictures that I just circulated with the pictures that were presented with the variance application, the subject premises would present a desirable change and not an undesirable change in conformity with the neighborhood. The benefit that the homeowner is seeking cannot really be achieved by another method because the location of the improvements is about as convenient or reasonable as can be under the circumstances of the property size and lot change. In terms of the actual variance that they're requesting, the variance they're requesting is minor in terms of dimension and requests. Specifically, they've asked to decrease the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 3 feet for one of the improvements, and to reduce the total side yard from 28 feet to 26 feet. So there's a 3 feet reduction in one and 2 foot in the other, which we ask the board not consider material. And as to whether or not the improvements were self-created or the necessity of a variance was self-created, the location of these improvements is similarly situated to the other improvements marked in the document that I've created. And actually, in this particular case, do not present any issues for neighboring properties. If you take a look at the pictures that are presented in the application, you'll notice that the subject premises is at a lower gradient than some of the surrounding properties, meaning that it's not visible to the surrounding lots. Specifically, if you look behind, the house is significantly higher than neighboring property, so would not create any visible effects to the neighbor, nor any other environmental effects. And to the left and right of the structures that have been created have been planted greenery, and that greenery is continuing to grow, which will block it out completely from any neighbors, so it will not create a visible effect. So we respectfully ask the board to consider this variance be conceived de minimis and approve it.
When you say outdoor kitchen, it's a very large, very nice barbecue.
Basically, that's all it is,
Basically,
yeah. It's a granite countertop with a barbecue and a refrigerator, yeah.
All right, thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application? Planning?
No comments here, Mr. Chairman, but just a quick question. Do you have the green return receipt cards and the green and white certified mailing receipts? Yeah.
I don't see them in my folder, but I could present those or drop those off. I'm not sure whether or not I was presented for Ms. Muley or not. Just bear with me a second.
We'll cooperate with you, but the board will not decide this application until those materials are delivered to the planning department.
Sure, hold on. You presented them for mailing, right? You're the one who took them? My client who presented them to the post office for mailing is here and can make a statement on the record and then deliver those to the planning department's office tomorrow at the convenience of the planning board.
Doesn't have to make a statement, we have an affidavit, just deliver the green cards and the receipts.
Okay.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved and second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
No.
The next application on the agenda, case number 18226, 812 Halleck Inc., 275 Lake Avenue, St. James. The location of the property is the east side of Lake Avenue, 163 feet south of 6th Street. The property is zoned CB. The applicant is requesting a special exception for an accessory apartment in the CB zoning district. Variance is to reduce the minimum required parking from 7 to 4 spaces. to reduce the required buffer yard setback to a residential zoning district from 50 feet to 0, to reduce the minimum rear yard from 50 feet to 45 feet for a proposed 117 square foot second floor addition.
Is there anyone here for Halleck? Oh.
Hi. My name is Joseph O'Hara, and I'm the owner of 812 Halleck Inc., which is a real estate company. And I'm also an accountant.
Do you
And
have the certificates of mailing and posting?
yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Purchased the subject property back in March. The building was built previous to 1920. Had a lot of deficiencies. Needs a total reno. Would have got, had my architect take a look at it, and we proposed some changes. We're looking for a second floor variance for the residential use, realistically because we have limited parking, and the office space for upstairs would be practically unusable only because of the staircase and the availability of no elevator. So it makes practical use to use it as a residence. And we propose a little addition to the top because the upstairs is not quite big enough to accommodate the apartment. We're also going to put a foundation in the back. The foundation is basically a porch in the back. It was originally a porch, I guess, from years ago. The downstairs is going to be fully gutted and made wheelchair accessible. The parking variance is necessary. We don't have any, it's pre-existing. There's nothing I can change. The property can't get any bigger, obviously. And it's been used as an office for about 20 years. Before that, I think it was a barber shop, and then before that, it was some kind of gift shop back in the 70s. In order to utilize the building, we do need the variance in the parking. The variance for the lot dimension from 45 to 0, we only have 45 feet, so that's another thing we can't change. We're not actually enlarging the footprint of the building. The only addition we're doing is upstairs. We're dormering the top to make room for a bathroom and a small kitchenette. Front entrance is going to stay the same. We're going to modernize the outside, but keep it to the old character of St. James. So looking to do some nice hardy plank or something like that on the outside. We did submit the application, and I did receive an email previous, I think it was Friday, which gave me a rundown of the things that they proposed. And they had proposed that we change the parking to 5 spaces instead of 4. And we're absolutely agreeable on that, across the back instead of on the side. And I think they wanted a planting of 2 trees out front, which is not a problem because we're going to re-landscape the whole front of the building anyway. Because we have to put a wheelchair accessible ramp in there and new brickwork and everything. So parking lot's going to be totally repaved anyway at some point, so. I don't know if there was anything else. I don't believe so. They did send me a plot plan from 1970, which has the parking spaces on it, which I have a copy of. I think that's about it. I don't know if
Okay.
anybody has any questions.
I'll ask. Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone on the board have any questions on this application? No? Planning?
No, thank you.
No. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved and second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next case on the agenda is case number 18227, Mark and Patricia Feibush, 21 Ravenwood Drive, Kings Park. The location of the property is the east side of Ravenwood Drive, 231 feet north of Boxwood Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard from 40 feet to 34 feet for an existing 60-square-foot front portico.
Good evening.
How are you? I'm Mark Feibush, the homeowner. We purchased the house in 1997 and really haven't done any renovations until now. So we had a roof, siding, all windows, doors, garages, everything done, landscaping, and a portico was added on as well. So apparently the portico reduces the front yard from 40 to 34 feet. So we had to apply for variance. We currently have a stop work order because the contractor told me I didn't need a variance. So we do need a variance.
So here you are.
So here I am.
Okay.
That's pretty much all.
Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No.
Planning.
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved and second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18228, Property Relief Partners, LLC. The location of the property is on Burr Avenue in Kings Park, the east side of Burr Avenue, 150 feet north of Lou Avenue. The property is zoned RM7. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard from 8 feet to 4 feet, to reduce total side yards from 18 feet to 12 feet for a proposed 396-square-foot detached garage. Increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the side yard from 25% to 75%, which would be 10 feet in width to 11 feet in width, for a proposed driveway for a rear detached garage.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. This property, as was read in the application, is RM7, which requires 7,500 total square feet. As you can see from the survey submitted, it meets that requirement. It also meets the frontage requirement. So the problem that we have is, even though it's a 50-foot front yard, 50 foot along the road, the problem becomes, even though it's permitted, is where do you put the garage? And really the only place to put the garage in such a narrow piece of property would be in the back, obviously, and it's detached. We do need a 4-foot variance because otherwise we'd have to put the garage almost in the middle of the rear yard if we wanted to maintain the 8-foot side yard restriction. And we don't feel that it is a change in the character of the area. This area is all RM7. Whether the relief sought could be achieved by some other method, sure, I guess we could move the garage to the middle of the backyard, slide it over so that there would be an 8-foot side yard. However, in that case, then you would be coming down the driveway and you'd make kind of a hard right to even get in the garage. We do want to preserve most of the backyard if we could, so that in the future, if the ultimate owners of the property want to put a swing set or barbecue and so forth, they could enjoy their backyard. With respect to the driveway, the request to increase the permitted paved surface from 10 feet to 11 feet, it's just the way it lays out. If you look at the survey again, it makes more sense to make it that size than to reduce it the 10 feet. Whether the request of the variance is substantial, not when you look at the size of the property. And the permitted 50-foot width of the property requires, sometimes even demands, the requests for variances just based upon the nature of the zoning and the size of the property. Will it have any environmental effect? We think not. We have Board of Health approval. And finally was the difficulty self-created. We didn't build anything yet. We're asking the board for its favorable consideration. You can also notice where the garage is being placed. It's kind of in line with approximately with the neighbor's detached garage, which is about 35 feet away. So we ask the board for its favorable consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And also the developer is here.
Thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thanks.
Planning?
No, thank you.
No? Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, please. Yep. Yeah, we have to get you on the record. So if you could state your name, spell your last name, and give your address, please.
Okay. Molly Galliano, Gagliano, 27 Burr Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So we are familiar with the man that lived there before. Unfortunately, he died of cancer recently. And now I guess those are people that are renting the home. In the backyard, he gardened every year. And he has a vegetable garden, but he also has a pollinator garden. I don't know what state it's in because when he became ill, his family told me that he couldn't upkeep it. But I'm sure that the pollinator garden would continue on its own naturally. So when I saw the signage up, any type of extra building on the property, I think would have quite an environmental impact. Open garage maybe would be better rather than a structure that's closed to the ground with some type of foundation. I'm not sure, looking at those plans, I'm not familiar with plans like these, but any type of construction that's a large structure, that garage, would be impacting the pollinator garden. I don't think it would impact the tree. He has a pine tree that's about 500 years old on the property that he took careful care of as well. So basically, I'm concerned about the impact of the pollinator garden that's nearby. Possibly, if there's extra coverage on the ground, that's taking away from our watershed. Any exposure to the ground, as you all know, gives more opportunity for the water to go down underground, and it protects our drinking water as residents in Kings Park.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? No one else? Mr. Tramarko?
I'd just like to indicate, as the board well knows, that whenever a building permit is granted for a residential or even a commercial structure, the structure must maintain any water generated by impervious surfaces on its property. It does not allow water from one property to basically flow onto another. So we have to comply with whatever the engineering department says with respect to not only catch basins, but all the drains from roof runoff must go into dry wells on the property. Thank you.
What about a garden?
What's that?
The young lady mentioned something about a garden?
I have no idea what,
In the backyard. He has a garden.
We talking about this property or the property that's adjacent?
I believe where he wants to put this structure.
was
Mr.
the
Marco,
statement,
is there an existing house there?
I'm sorry?
Is there an existing house on the property right
No,
now?
there's
I
no
think she's
existing
talking about a
house.
different property.
Can I call up my client, please? Is there a house?
There's 34
All
Burr
right,
Avenue.
one second.
Announce
Could
yourself.
you state your name? spell
Anthony
your last name,
Lafredo.
And your address, please?
My address?
Whatever address you'd like to give.
Okay,
Your
33,
business address or,
okay, 80 Orville Drive, Suite 138, Bohemia.
did you get the spelling of his last name?
Loffredo.
Thank you.
No problem. So 34 Burr Avenue, where the house is actually 2 lots, and we're purchasing the vacant lot, and we're building new on that. So it was a double lot.
All right.
So they're selling the individual house on the lot, and we're purchasing the adjacent lot
All right.
next to it, the vacant lot.
So whatever,
On the vacant lot.
I'm not familiar with if there's a garden on there.
okay,
I'm not sure.
all right. Thank you.
Obviously, if there's a garden on the vacant lot, it depends on where the house is being built and the garage, whether that garden will stay or not. Obviously, we don't want to remove any gardens, and we can't on the property next door. So that's the only way we can answer that question.
Okay. Thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18229, Gail Vasta, acting as power of attorney, 25 Peacock Lane, Comac. The location of the property is the south side of Peacock Lane, 195 feet east of Finch Court. Oh, sorry. Probably in here. It's in here.
Power attorney's in the yes.
Yeah.
Is there?
Add the affidavits.
Oh,
Here we go.
I'm sorry, Blaze.
That's okay. That was 3 days ago. Thank you. So, I'll just zip through it again. Thank you. 25 Peacock Lane in Comac. The location of the property is the south side of Peacock Lane, 195 feet east of Finch Court. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum rear yard from 60 feet to 25 feet for an existing 1,289 square foot deck, to decrease the minimum distance from any lot line from 8 feet to 2 feet for an existing 180 square foot shed.
Good evening.
Good evening, Louis Castellano, 2693 Middle Country Road, Lake Grove, New York, for the applicant. As you can tell by the photos we gave you, this pool, this deck and shed have been there for many years. There's no environmental issues. It's not an adverse effect on the neighborhood. And if you look on the aerial photo, you'll see quite a few neighbors also have decks near their yard. It is self-created, and we're just trying to legalize it.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on the application?
No, thanks.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18230, Christine Fortier, 120 Cambon Avenue, St. James. The location of the property is the west side of Cambon Avenue, 1,218 feet north of Middle Country Road. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard from 16 feet to 8 feet, reduce total side yards from 34 feet to 24 feet, increase the maximum height from 15 feet to 20 feet for a proposed 1,100 square foot detached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Mark Mancini, architect at 222 Middle Country Road. I've issued a letter of power of attorney to the board tonight, so I can speak on behalf of the owner. If you could see, this particular project, we, in the past year, have been designed and built a brand-new house on this lot. The picture being held up on my left right now. It's a craftsman-style house, and it has many nice features, and it's, you know, really quite the house in the neighborhood. In fact, the owner says that people stop and take pictures of it every day, which is kind of nice. What we're doing is the owner has demoed the existing garage that was to the left of this. He is now going to build a new garage, and he's matching the side yard of where the garage was previously, and we're building a bigger garage. The features of the house are going to be carried over into the garage design. So the height of the roof and the pitch of the roof are matching what you see as the main gable on this house. Not as high, but the same pitch. So we are looking for a variance to keep the side yard setback that was on the original garage at 8 feet. And we are looking for the height of the garage to be slightly higher than code at 20 feet so that we can keep the style. Is it self-created? Yes. We have to keep the style. We don't think the pitch of the roof is going to be nice if it's a lot lower on that, to match this existing house that we just built. And as far as the total side yard setback, there's a pool in the yard that is also impacting the total setback. That was pre-existing, and that added to the full, the total setback being adjusted as well. Any questions?
20 feet is awful high. Could you keep the same pitch at 18 feet?
Yeah, I could lower the outer walls a slight bit to do that,
Okay.
in all honesty.
Do you have a drawing of the garage?
Yes.
It's okay, please.
So you can see in the elevations, we are keeping the same style dormers. We're keeping the same hip roof style. And I know this is a flat elevation, but I'm sure it's going to look the same type of details, the exposed rafter tails, the same concept of that 1920s Craftsman style house.
Two-story?
Excuse me?
There'll be a floor inside? An
No.
additional floor? Or it's
If
full
you look
height
at the section, do we have that? Now, just to give you a kind of a background of where we're going with this, the owner is a car collector. He has a few classic BMWs. And he also has 2 sons with cars and his wife with a car and him, and, they have a lot. So they do like to work on their own cars. The height of this garage will be as high as we can get it so that we can change the oil and things like that. So there is no floor inside other than the slab on grade.
Nothing to do with this. I'm just looking at that cabana.
Yes.
It has a basement in
Yes, it does.
it? It does.
Full basement.
A full basement.
I don't know when that was passed. That wasn't me.
I'm just curious. I'm looking at it and I'm like, what is that?
I was in it myself. It's a full basement
Full
under
basement?
there with
Okay.
storage.
Thank you. Planning?
Comments regarding the proposed garage, given the 8-foot setback, the square footage and the height of the garage would probably be a fairly large impact to the neighbor next door.
Is there anyone in the, excuse me, anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18231, Davin Halpern, 42 Soundview Drive, Fort Salonga. The location of the property, the east side of Soundview Drive, 599 feet south of Beach Hill Drive. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum side yard from 16 feet to 2 feet and total side yards from 34 feet to 32 feet for an existing 60-square-foot shed and 120-square-foot shed.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself on this case.
All right? Everything in order, Blaise?
We have to fill out the affidavit of posting. It was left blank.
Excuse me?
The affidavit of posting was left blank, so it'll have to be filled out and signed and notarized.
Will the sign go up?
Did the sign go up?
Excuse me?
This was for the sign.
Oh, can I sign it right now? No, it needs to be notarized. Did you post the sign on the property?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Picture of it?
Yes, I did.
You do?
Yes, I did.
okay. Well, we can do it after the hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
you state your name for the
Yes.
record, please?
Devin L. Halpern,
Thank you.
42 Soundview Drive, Northport, New York.
Okay.
Chairman, before you begin, do you have a picture of that sign?
Yes, I do.
Can you hand it up, please? Okay, and that's been up at least 5 days? Yes, it is. Okay. Absolutely.
You were here because?
I wanted to legalize 2 sheds.
One shed's what, 2 foot off the property line?
Yes.
Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thanks.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? You have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing?
Certainly.
Okay. Am I supposed to address these questions about? I'm sorry,
That's basically what we use to decide the case, so if you could, we could reopen it so that we have something on.
Yeah,
the
I've never done this before, so you'll excuse me, and I apologize, I was a tiny bit late. I had a medical emergency with a patient, so that's why I'm late. So if there were instructions that I missed, I apologize.
That's okay.
So these questions, from what I understand,
Hold on a second, make a motion to reopen.
Oh, yeah. I'll make a motion to reopen the case.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
okay.
Good.
So as far as this impacting any adjacent properties, absolutely not. These sheds have been there for over 10 years. I have an email from my neighbor who's directly next to me, who is requesting this variance because he prefers these sheds where they are. They're the only thing that create, even though I get along very, very well with my neighbor, it's the only thing that gives us privacy. Excuse me. There's no environmental impact. It would be a financial burden on me to move them. There is no other place for them to be. There are other houses that are more into the setback, from what I understand, that have set a precedent previously. There's no, as I said, there's no environmental impact, and if I can enter this as proof that my neighbor is 100% behind
Okay.
these sheds staying where they are.
All right, can you just go back to the microphone?
Yes.
All right. That it?
That's it.
Okay. Any questions from the board? No. Planning? No.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on the application? No.
Much better the second time.
Much better.
Yeah. Little new to this. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your consideration.
You have a motion to close the application?
I'll make a motion, we close this application.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
He's leaving?
Oh, we got it.
Doctor?
The doctor.
I know, it's a lot of chores, right? You fill out the affidavit and sign it, and I'll notarize it.
Thank you very much.
You do it in the back or something.
Who's he looking for?
Somewhere to sign.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18232, William Snack, 723 Meadow Road, Smithtown. The location of the property, the north side of Meadow Road, 817 feet west of Dilmont Drive. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard from 50 feet to 30 feet, which is existing at 40 feet, for an existing 132 square foot roof over porch. Reduce the minimum side yard from 16 feet to 5 feet, existing at 8 feet, and total side yards from 34 feet to 13 feet, existing at 16 feet, for an existing 360 square foot first floor addition.
Good evening. My name is John Weiss. I'm here for the applicant. You have a power of attorney that was turned in with the original application. One was turned over to the planning department. We verified that yesterday. John Weiss, W-E-I-S.
Is it there, Steve?
Let me get it.
You haven't completed this form, sir. You have to sign it, sir.
Who has to sign it?
You have to sign it.
Let me do so.
I should charge for my notary tonight.
$2 only, remember.
Price went way up if you won't have your application.
You got it. Want to shoot my partner?
That's extra.
Good evening now.
Good evening. The addition in question, this house was originally started in 1952 with the first building permit. That's to the back of the house. The next building permit was taken out in 1954, and then the next permit in 1962. The addition was there after the 1962 addition was already built. Somewhere along the lines, something didn't happen as far as the permit being taken out. This can't change the character, hurt the character of the neighborhood, as everything that's there has been there for a minimum of 50 years, if not 60 years. Any harmful effect on the neighbors would have taken effect a long time ago, since the properties surrounding it have been sold and resold. There's no environmental change because there's no new construction being done. Everything, again, is being built no later than 1962, and that's how it exists today.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions on the application?
No, thank
Planning?
you.
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second. Moved and second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Good night.
You too.
Who's back? Sounds like the teacher from,
The next application on the agenda, case number 18233, Richard Barbado. The location of the property is on New Mill Road in Smithtown, the east side of New Mill Road, the north side of New Mill Road, 1,928 feet east of Mill Dam Road. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum lot area from 21,780 square feet to 12,457 square feet, to reduce the minimum front yard from 50 feet to 21 feet, reduce the minimum west side yard from 16 feet to 12 feet, reduce the minimum rear yard from 75 feet to 31 feet for a proposed 2,096 square foot single-family home.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Richard Barbado, 526 Long Beach Road, St. James, New York. I give Lou Castellano permission to represent me in this matter.
Fine, thank you.
Good evening, Louis Castellano, 2693 Middle Country Road, Lake Grove, New York. I guess you've all seen the survey in the aerial map. It's kind of a weird lot. And if you look at the lots, the three lots to the east of it, they're all pretty much similar in size and character. We tried to design a house that would somewhat fit into the lot. The house is for Richard's daughter. They're longtime Smithtown residents. They want to stay here. The kids want to stay here. There is no environmental impact. It would be self-created because there's nothing else we can do with the land. There's no more land. We do back up to the railroad, so we try to design the house to keep our distance as far away as possible. And we did take title to the land, so we already own it. And we're looking for a favorable decision from the board.
That's it?
That's it.
Anyone on the board have any questions on the application?
Is this lot single and separate?
Excuse me?
Is this lot single and separate?
As far as I know, yes.
Is there a title search? Is there a title search in the file for this?
Yeah.
No.
Everything on both sides has been built already. On both sides of it is built, and it is on the 81 tax map from the health department because we have a health department approval already. So, yeah.
Single and separate.
Yeah. I think
Sorry.
I think the other two that are adjoining are similar size, and they both have homes on it. And again,
Rules, the grandfathering, so I understand what you're saying.
Right.
But if the lot, if you're presenting the lot as being non-conforming or legally non-conforming, typically you would submit a change of title to
Yeah.
demonstrate that the lot.
no one asked us for it, so I don't believe we submitted it to you. But if you need us to get it, we'll get it.
I guess an easier question would be, do you have health department approval yet?
Yes.
He does.
We had approval. It's approved.
Thank you.
Planning? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up. Good evening.
My name is Thomas Swift. I own the adjoining lot, the adjoining property, 11 New Mill Road.
Can you spell your last name, Thomas, for the record?
Swift, S-W-I-F-T.
Thank you.
I've been there for 22 years. This was not a single and separate lot originally. The area is zoned for half acre, and all the adjoining properties are half acre lots with houses centered on the properties with a great deal of distance around them. The gentleman I bought my house from, prior to me purchasing it from him, had cleaved off this piece of lot in an attempt to try and build it and build a house on it and sell it back in 1987. I bought it from him in 97, my house. In that time, there have been several different owners of the property. That lot tried to build on it, and they weren't successful. So Aurelio Gomez currently owns that lot, and he was trying to sell it to Mr. Barbado on the assumption he could build a house on it. So I need to do a little more research on it because my property is more than 1/4 of an acre, and the original lot that my property was half acre when they cleaved it off. So according to my calculations, and actually a tax bill from the town, it's actually not 12,000 square feet. It's .20, which is 1/5 of an acre, which is 8,700 square feet. So it's a really small lot for what they're proposing to do on it. I only received notification of this hearing on Saturday, so I'd like an adjournment to do a little more time to dig in and get a little more research to see where that disparity is in the square footage of the lot as they're presenting it versus what the actual statement of property taxes states, which is that it's .20 acres, which is 8,700 square feet. And it is not typical of the neighborhood. The adjoining properties are not that small. As a matter of fact, there's nothing in Forestwood that's a quarter acre, less than a quarter acre rather, with a house on it. It's all half acre.
Your calculation is correct, is it 1,200?
It's definitely over 87.
I'm basing it on the survey that was submitted by a licensed surveyor, and he's claiming 12,500 square feet.
Okay. I'm not going to postpone it. You know, we're here tonight, we're going to move forward. All right?
Oh, well, then I guess I'd have to say that it would change the character of the neighborhood. It would be a detriment to nearby properties because it is atypical. That is not what the neighborhood is. The adjoining properties are not that small of lot size. And I think it's something that should be looked into because the Smithtown tax bill in their name clearly states that it's .20 acres. It's not bigger than that. So that needs to be looked at.
All right,
All right?
thank you. Come on up. Good evening.
Evening. Stephen Muller, 15A New Mill Road, Smithtown.
Can you spell your last name? Just for-
Muller, M-U-L-L-E-R.
Thank you.
Thanks. Evening. We're new neighbors. We just moved in and bought the house adjacent to this property about 5 or 6 months ago. The other gentleman, Tom, is absolutely correct. All the other plots in the area are roughly a half acre or more in size. I myself and a lot of our other neighbors do have pretty significant concerns that building this type of property on such a small lot would really depreciate and bring down the values of our home. There are also several other factors that I feel the board should take into consideration. This property right now that is shown is heavily wooded. It's significantly dampening the noise from the train that runs behind it. And building a property and getting rid of a lot of those trees would cause significant noise pollution for the rest of the neighborhood beyond what's currently there. Also, right now, being that it is so heavily forested, there's a ton of animal inhabitants that live there that, ripping up the property and do it would significantly disrupt and drive them back into the neighborhood. Along the lines also, anytime that you do new build like that, I could imagine them driving, quite a few, different animals and things like that into the neighborhood and, causing other issues along those lines.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? No one else? Would you like to come back to answer their concerns?
Okay, first of all, we are entitled on the property. I brought a copy of the deed to ship for the, if you need it, I have a copy of the deed. We did close on the property and we do own it. If you look at the survey is done by a licensed surveyor. It comes out to 12,487 square feet. If you look at the radius map, the photograph, the area photo you sent me, you'll see the two adjoining lots are also in a weird configuration. So we can't create any more land. As far as the train is below the property. When the gentleman bought the house across the street, he knew the train was there. So it's not going to change it. Our house being there is also up against the train. So we don't think it's any adverse effect on the neighbors or neighborhoods or the environment.
Excuse me.
There's a issue with his fence is 20 feet onto our property. That's the problem here. It's a civil matter, it has nothing to do with this town, with the board. We'll work that out amongst ourselves. So,
All right,
and he has
thank you.
a copy of the deed. We have a copy of the deed if you need it for your records.
Okay, I'll put it in the record. All right, thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
What's that noise coming
I
from?
also have, he said this house was built in 87, this lot was configured prior to that, was figured after that. This is a 1981 tax map with the original Board of Health approval. With a Board of Health
Do you
approval.
want to put that in the record also?
My house was built in 37, that was part of my house's property.
Thank you.
Yes, it was that at that time.
We didn't close the case, right?
No, that's it.
Okay. You have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved second, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion
very much.
carried.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was in the back there.
The next case on the agenda is case number 18234, Andre Marabini, 20 Legion Drive, Smithtown, the location of the property, the west side of Legion Drive, 416 feet north of Holly Drive. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum height from 15 to 20 feet, increase the square footage of a detached garage from 750 square feet to 1,352 square feet, increase the maximum number of stories from 1 to 2 for a proposed 1,352 square foot detached garage, increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the side yard from 25% to 60%.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Christina Fry, an attorney with offices at 7 Pine Ridge Drive, Smithtown, New York, 11787, on behalf of the homeowner Andre Marabini, who is with us here today. We are proposing a 26 by 26 two-car garage in the rear yard. That garage has a square footage, surface area square footage of 26 by 26, but due to the second-story height and bulk, it comes to 1,352 square feet. We are not proposing a second floor between the first and second story. What we are proposing to do inside is to put a hydraulic lift so that my client can store his show and classic cars in the garage, as well as some motorcycles. We will also need to pave the side yard in order to get to that garage. The proposed width is 15 feet in the side yard, which is currently 19.1 feet. And to increase the maximum stories from 1 to 2, because we are requesting a height from 15 feet to 20 feet.
Excuse me. Could you go into the library, please?
This home is located in an area known as the Pines. I am also a resident and live 1 block away from this proposed garage. I wanted to hand to the board several zoning board decisions, recent ones, that are proposing similar structures. The first one I'm going to hand up is for 132 Ledgewood Drive. That was approved from 15 feet to 19 feet and from 750 square feet to 1,500 square feet. That is a 3-car garage with 3 dormer-style windows at the top. The other one I'm going to hand up is for 10 Grandview Lane. That was approved up to 20 feet, where it was requested at 24. And that's a 3-car garage. And then I have another garage, 3-car garage, also with a second story, located at 5 North Sard Circle, and an additional garage that's located at 2 Averly Place. All of those in the Pines. There's also an additional one we located today on Grassy Pond.
Thank you.
My purpose of handing up those photos and those zoning board decisions is to show the board that it will not produce an undesirable change to the neighborhood. The structure we are proposing is quite a bit more beautiful looking than what I have shown you. I want to alleviate the board's concern that the second-story garage would be higher than the home. We are now proposing a second story to the home that will not require a zoning board approval. Those plans are underway and have not yet been filed with the building department. Due to the need for the hydraulic lift in the garage to store more cars and raise them above the cement level to reduce the humidity that the cars actually are exposed to, we do request up to 20 feet in this case. There may be some room to go down a foot if that concerns the board. And the alleged difficulty was not self-created. It has not yet been built. Normally, I'm before the board asking for forgiveness. Here, I'm asking for permission. It's one of the few times I'm actually asking to build something.
All right, thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question, a couple questions. On the height, it looks as though you're proposing gables on all four sides.
That's correct.
And the problem with gables, when you're going over height like that, I don't know if you were here earlier, there was another application
Yes,
for an
I was.
overheight garage. This board is very sympathetic to the impact that oversized structures in a rear yard, especially ones that are going to be close to the lot line. I see it's going to be about 8 feet from the side yard.
8.5.
And it
But
doesn't-
that's the closest. There's actually quite a bit more room on the other sides. 8.2 from the side yard, 8.5 from the rear yard in the one corner.
Correct, I see that. Anyway, the reason that I bring that up is when you have a structure that the roof is a gable where it lands on the sidewall, it's not as impacting as a 20-foot garage where it's a gable end because you have essentially 20 feet high walls, 8 feet from the property line. Is there the possibility that they can either lower the structure or change the design so it's not as impacting on those adjacent neighbors? Because it's going to look like there's a house in somebody's side yard.
I understand that, and just so the board is aware, there is nobody to the rear of that home in terms of it's all highly forested area. They're very deep lots, the two lots that surround that rear area, and they're all treed.
Yeah, well,
Heavily treed.
obviously, we grant approval, it goes forever, so what's there now
It's
could be
understood.
different in 20
Yes,
years.
my client is here today, and I can ask him if we could alleviate that concern on the gables. And I can bring him up if you'd like to inquire yourself. He's well-versed in the architectural.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions before I?
I think that was it for me.
Blaise, you have any?
I think Tony's pretty much covered everything.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Board. My name is Andre Marabini. I reside at 20 Legion Drive. Last name spelled Marabini. And as my attorney has showed you, the structure itself, the front is just a reverse, and it's just all true framing, and the back is it's essentially a shed dormer so that the car lifts could elevate and keep the cars high. I can drop the ridge a little bit, would also drop that back wall. I'm not opposed to that. So if we're at 20 feet, if you guys grant me 18 feet, that'll drop that back wall another 2 feet, so it'd be 12 feet. So it's your decision, but any other questions?
What's the minimum, obviously you know better than I do, when you have a car lift, what's the minimum that you can get away with and have it functional?
The height, the side height of the lifts, I believe, are 7 feet, so it gets the car up about 6'6". My cars are low cars, so probably 6 and 6, 12 feet would be ideal to keep the cars elevated. I'm going to do 4-post lifts, not the 2-post ones, for storage, not for, so having them towards the back would help me get
Okay.
the height I need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning? No. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? You have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second. Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18235, Michael and Phoebe Zakor, 292 Rose Lane, Smithtown, the location of the property, the north side of Rose Lane, 784 feet west of Brookside Drive. Thanks. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard from 50 feet to 31 feet, which is existing at 41 feet, for a proposed 204-square-foot front porch addition. Reduce the minimum front yard from 50 feet to 35 feet, again existing at 41 feet, and the minimum side yard from 16 feet to 15 feet for a proposed 624-square-foot attached garage addition.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Phoebe Zacher. This is my husband, Michael Zacher. We are the owners of the property. The application in front of you is for a porch and an attached garage. The porch is being built for both curb appeal and also to provide a covered entrance and exit from the garage. The garage is being built to store our cars and also to provide my husband with a work area, so he has one less excuse not to finish my house that we've owned for 40 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thanks.
Planning?
No.
Any? Excuse me.
He doesn't look happy.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? All right, come on up, please.
Okay, sure.
Good evening.
My name's James Shea, neighbor next door to Mike.
Could you spell your last name, please, sir?
SHEA.
Thank you.
I'm just concerned about the side yard. How close is he coming to the side?
With the garage.
Yeah.
From 16 to 15.
On the side yard?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to know where it was, that's all. That's all.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't know.
thank you. Anyone else? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next application on the agenda, 18236, 52 Indian Head Road, LDG, Geno's, in Kings Park. The location of the property is 52 Indian Head Road, the southwest corner of Indian Head Road and Meadow Road. The property is zoned SCB. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum parking from 739 to 603 spaces.
Mr. Chair, I need to recuse myself from this application.
Certainly.
Since I destroyed the place,
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. I guess most of you are familiar with the shopping center wherein Geno's of Kings Park Pizzeria Italian Restaurant is located. And because we would like to extend the rear of the building mainly for storage, not mainly, storage and additional refrigeration, we have to come before this board because originally the parking required for this shopping center was 739 spaces, and we wish to reduce it to 603 spaces for a proposed 172 rear addition. I think anybody that's gone past this shopping center over the years can say without any doubt that this shopping center parking lot is never even half full. So the request really is something that is more pro forma than anything else. We're not impinging on anybody's parking space. And if you think about what we're doing, we're just putting an addition on, not for more eating area or for more customers, for better storage and more refrigeration. If you just look at the site plan, site map, there's so much parking here that it's probably half of it is necessary. So we have to come before this board because as small as it is, it does affect the parking by a couple of spaces. So the planning board, planning department, and the building department had no choice but to make us come to this board, which we're happy to do. It certainly won't make an undesirable change in the character of the area. First of all, the extension is in the rear of the building. As you can see, that proposed addition is kind of in the middle of a U-shaped shopping center, Key Food being on one side and TJ Maxx on the other. There's so much parking here that I'll venture to say that in the rear and the sides are never even used. Whether the benefit sought can be achieved by some other method, well, we really can't put extra storage anywhere else for use by my client for the pizzeria. So this is really the only logical place to create that small 172-foot square addition. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, I think it's obvious that it's not, but it is necessary. In order to maintain my client's business and economically exist, he needs more storage, or it needs more storage. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on the environment, well, it's not adding any more patrons, any more seats. It has no effect on sanitary flow or even drainage. The extension is a dry use, again, only for storage. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, we haven't put on the addition. We're asking this board for its favorable consideration. Again, these things are necessary, especially for small businesses, so that they can have sufficient amount of storage and buy enough product to service their customers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tramarko, I'd just like to put on the record that I am in that shopping center almost every single day. And there is so much parking spaces available. Half of it is not even used.
And I'm there maybe once a week to go to Anderson's and get a nice sandwich. So I certainly agree with you. The place is just overdeveloped with parking.
It is.
So, thank you.
And it appears you're only bumping out 8 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. All right. Planning?
Just to let the board know, Mr. Chairman, that when Mr. Tramarko originally made the application, the site plan that was submitted with the paperwork showed that there were only 606 parking spaces, but actually the site plan's been revised since then. There was parking missing on that plan. That was part of the approved site plan when the shopping center was first approved, And the number has now been brought up to 660 spaces. So
660?
660, yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? You have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved?
Second?
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
That's it. Is that it? Is that it?
No.
No? Oh, what do you have? Adjourned,
Adjourned.
right? Okay. Thank you.
We have two adjourned.
Do you want to
I
just
see
move?
them now. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
He'll find his way back.
Oh, I know. In fact, I was there the other night with the baby. I spilled soda and wine all over the floor, all with the baby, because I was trying to get the baby. They were so kind. He said, don't worry about it. Did you? You weren't in any of my classes. No, put me on my.
Okay.
All right, go Susan.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18209, Walter Cernoza, 23 Tall Tree Lane, Smithtown. The location of the property, the west side of Tall Tree Lane, 738 feet north of Brook Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered. Thank you. Depth of groundwater less than 10 feet. To increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to 45% for a proposed paved driveway.
Good evening.
Good evening, how you doing? My name is Walter Sornoza, Sornoza, address 23 Tall Tree Lane. Can I excuse myself, because I'm having a lot of pain from my kidneys, I just got operated. Can she speak for me, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Good
Hi,
evening.
good evening. Eva Gallagher, Gallagher, address 360 Holbrook Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Okay. If you'd like to sit down, go right ahead.
One thing I would like to say is that they actually, the reason why we got re-adjourned is because they had to give me another revised denial letter, which excluded the paved driveway in the front, which I have the copy here. So it was only to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered, and then to permit basically the same thing over again. This is the copy here.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically what it is that in the rear of the house, we have the master bedroom, which we extended about 1 foot out. So for that, I went to the building department to file building permits, and they told me that I needed to go for variance because I added 1 extra foot to the back of the house, which is it's a split level ranch. So when you go up the stairs, you're technically on I believe the first floor, the second floor is bottom level. We added no new foundation, no new No, nothing new. We just extended it to 1 foot more than what it was existing.
I don't see the 1 foot in the rear on here. This is just for the driveway in the front.
No, I think it's the environmentally sensitive lands. So what you're saying is you don't need the variance for the paving?
No, we changed it to, so that we wouldn't have to go for variance, which that's why they gave me a revised denial letter with just the exterior.
Right, so I think correct me if I'm wrong, Blaise, but I think the application is now in front of us because there was a material change in the structure, and then that kicks off the environmentally sensitive land requirement.
My understanding
Yes.
was that I don't think they extended the house past the setback line. I think the problem was because they were doing work on the house. Building department is saying that they're disturbing the environmentally sensitive land. So they need a variance to disturb the environmentally sensitive land for the work they're doing to the house.
Right, everything else will be just
Everything else is fine.
gone, yeah.
It's not a setback variance, it's a variance to alter environmental sense.
Correct.
Right.
All right. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18214, Joseph and Mary Stout, 3 Quaker Lane, Smithtown. The location of the property, the north side of Quaker Lane, 77 feet east of Weston Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard from 50 feet to 46 feet for an existing 393 square foot first floor addition.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Joseph Ballhofer. I'm the attorney for the applicant. Yes, B as in boy, O-L-L-H-O, F as in Frank, E-R. Thank you. This is an application to reduce the rear yard by 4 feet, the setback by 4 feet. And this particular addition, a family room addition, was built somewhere in the early 1990s. I'll give you a couple of photographs of it there. The application has a lot going for it. There's really no undesirable change in the neighborhood as a result of the addition, which, like I said, exists for 25 to 30 years. There is additionally a lot that adjoins to the rear that appears to have received a variance on a setback, rear yard setback. Building, which is the house, appears to be 42 feet from the rear property line. Benefit obviously can't be achieved any other way. The structure exists, well-built. The relief that is requested is not substantial. It's approximately 8% according to my calculations. I don't think there's any adverse effect on the environment. And although it was self-created, like I said, it is a de minimis variance that's being requested.
And the 46-foot appears to be just in one corner.
That's correct. It's not across the entire rear of the building. Yes.
Thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thanks.
Planning?
No, thank you.
No. Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moving, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. And that concludes our hearing for tonight.